This week of war has been the first experience in battle for many young Americans, and it has been a baptism by fire. Correspondent Scott Pelley and producer Bill Owens made their way to the front lines with a small group of Marines as the ground war began. What they saw and heard with the soldiers of Fox Company was frightening and sobering. As the troops fought for control of Qasr, the critical Iraqi port, the Marines found themselves fighting an enemy they never expected and sometimes couldn't even recognize. It began the moment they made their dash through the desert in the middle of the night.
For the Marines of Fox Company, the war began with light and thunder. That's their pre-dawn assault up ahead alongside British Royal Marines. The first casualties that night were their preconceived notions of the enemy.
It was supposed to be a relatively easy target, just a lot of workers, not any resistance at all. And then the day before we came in, they told us they moved a tank regiment in the area, and just, they had a bunch of Republican Guard or at least regular Army down here. So we came across a breach and immediately took contact.
Sergeant Robert Coppola from LA was among the first Americans to roll through the breach and into the fire.
You encountered fire right away.
Within 200 meters. Within 200 meters, taking enemy artillery and fire from dug-in positions. So it was definitely, we had to rethink and recock what we were doing. As far as when we got here, our whole posture had to change from, being a little lackadaisical to, we're going into a battle. So,
what was that fire like coming over the border?
It was a lot of direct fire weapons, machine guns, small arms, and then we actually started taking artillery fire over our positions and hit a couple of our trucks. And, rounds going over our heads, so it was a little nerve-wracking at first because we had no idea they were firing artillery at us.
Their objective was the port at Qasr. They took it without much of a fight, but they soon found that keeping it was a rolling battle.
We have 4 personnel standing by in the open building. They're clustered at the same doorway.
Back building with the tower in front of it, right?
Correct.
Fox Company met resistance from an enemy they didn't recognize. Days after taking the port, they were under attack from Iraqis wearing civilian clothes
White flag on it.
and waving a white flag. Captain Rick Crevier is the commander of Fox Company.
What have you learned about the enemy that you didn't know 5 days ago?
Well, I certainly thought we would have the laws of war would be understood. I didn't think that we were going to be encountering enemy carrying white flags and dressed in civilian gear. We've learned that they don't respect the white flags. We've learned that they've waved white flags at us and again gone back to their defensive positions, and so it requires us to have our head on a swivel, and we need to be situationally aware. And so again, a hostile act is hostile intent. If we see them with firearms, we're going to take them down.
Puts you in a hell of a spot.
It puts my men in a difficult spot. These men have performed superbly out here and very successfully, and I think you're right, it has put us in a awful spot.
You're not going to drop your weapon when you see a white flag?
No.
Not anymore?
No way.
No.
No way.
I think it's mainly what we're encountering is just infantry or Iraqi infantry that's just too cowardly to wear their uniform and stand up and fight us. They're using basically terrorist techniques to try to inflict onesies and twosies of casualties instead of fighting us like men.
They're the tactics of a desperate army being confronted by men like Corporal Mike Breslin of Maryland, who was in that firefight on the hill.
And I was looking at this building and I saw a guy in a uniform run by from where we've been taking fire from. So staff sergeant told us to open up, and I had my machine guns open up. Started firing on the building, and the javelins took shots. We had a mortar up there doing assault fire mode on that area, and then the tanks rolled in and destroyed the whole area. I think the only way they can fight us, they can't fight us face to face because no one can combine arms like the Marine Corps can. I mean, from the fire team level all the way up to the battalion, we have that locked down. That's what we do best. And they can't come at us face to face because we can call air in from the ships. We got tanks, right nearby, and organic to each squad. We have enough firepower to knock any enemy flat on their ass. So they have to do this little hit and run tactics because they can't win any other way. And they're not going to win. They're just trying to take out individual Marines so they can, I don't know, feel good about it or something.
The hit and run is repeating itself all over southern Iraq. When the main Allied force moves through, Iraqi troops fill in from behind, shooting up convoys headed in every direction and harassing troops left behind to hold the ground. Much of southern Iraq is a no man's land. With the iron grip no longer holding them, towns are in free fall. We visited a hospital where the wounded were suffering and dying without doctors or medicine. An angry crowd showed us their dead. And because we were the only Americans they'd seen, they begged us for food, water, and police to restore order.
We need government. I said we need government help. We need government help. But more stolen help, more thief help.
Have thieves?
Yeah.
You want a government to stabilize what's happening now?
Yeah.
No one's in control?
No one's control.
This chaos is the reason Fox Company is defending the port. Qasr is where humanitarian aid will land, perhaps as important a weapon as any in breaking Saddam's regime. Fox Company is camped in a warehouse on the port. There's no electricity, no toilets. They're short on water, long on boredom, familiar to every Marine. The men call themselves the Raiders, and they don't like you to forget that. The company's full of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They're isolated, no news from home, no news of the wider war, no scores from the Final Four. Most of the time, not even the shortwave draws home any closer. Scott Amarant's home is back in the San Francisco Bay Area.
You know, you're out here on this loading dock. I can't get away from the image of a company of Marines being stored in a warehouse here. You guys don't have much to live on.
This is home. Nice and soft. It's nothing worse than we've done before, so I mean, this is how we live whenever every training op we go, so it's nothing different.
You got no electricity, you got no running water, you got nothing. Nothing but a box of MREs here.
And all these guys, so that's all we need, really.
Yeah, it's an honor to be amongst what we would call these band of brothers. And so these Marines, unfortunately, I'm at a loss of words to describe what these folks have been doing for me and to the people in their nation.
We're moving out of 1400.
Crevier's band is from across the 50 states, but the 50 stars stay wrapped. They're not supposed to show the flag. They got in trouble with the Pentagon for raising the stars and stripes over the port. No one's supposed to get the idea that America is here to stay. Over the last several days, attacks on the port have all but stopped, and Crevier doesn't think the enemy will last much longer.
Why do you think they'll capitulate soon?
They can only stand so much of our artillery. And so we're rolling tanks on them. Where we see fire, if we're drawing fire, we roll tanks on it, and quickly you start to understand that there's no other alternative but to capitulate or to surrender.
Do you think the enemy units you're encountering are getting resupplied?
No. That's why I think this area will be taken quickly.
They're going to run out of food, water, and bullets at some point.
We've controlled the waterways. We've controlled the roads getting in and out of here. There's no way that they can get resupplied.
That control firmed up this week so that Fox Company and other elements of the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit left Qasr for fresh combat up north. The British will now hold the town. Qasr is the first and only significant town held by the Allies. The guns aren't quite silent, but it is close enough for the Army to rush in the first humanitarian aid in Iraq.
Shooting occurred this morning a few hours ago. So as it stands right now, 4-2 Commando, which is another British unit, is in the area as well patrolling, so shooting still occurs.
Captain James Thorpe runs an Army Civil Affairs team that will bring water and power and food back to this city of 15,000. Army and British forces are opening the taps on clean water. The first these families have seen in more than a week.
Major, why do these people not have water?
The situation is this. Basra, it's a city just north of us, is normally the location where drinking water comes from for these folks here in Qasr. As it turns out, just before the war started, approximately 4 or 5 days before it did, the water that normally flows down here via truck was turned off.
By who?
Well, basically by the ruling party, the Ba'athist Party, and I guess Saddam Hussein. We now want to rebuild Iraq. We want to go to a situation where they are stable, they can take care of themselves within the next couple months, and we as Americans can pull out, and the British.
And what we are seeing right now behind us is the very first phase of that. It's
Absolutely.
just beginning.
In fact, this is probably the first time it's occurred in country right now. Yes.
First time it's occurred in country.
Absolutely. Because it was the first town that we've actually had somewhat control over, and that we can go out and actually help people as it stands right now.
So many were children asking, is the water good? Is it good? Hardly able to believe that here was water that they could drink. This was also the first time Iraqis came en masse to meet the troops that had swept through their country. Most seemed grateful, but some were not. One man told us, I have 6 children. We have no food or electricity. Why have you done this to us? But others rushed down the street as if to witness the beginning of a new world, still not quite trusting what was happening.
On the water line, a man speaking perfect English came up to me. He wanted to thank the Americans for the water. I asked him if he'd do an interview with me on camera. He looked over both shoulders and whispered, there are detectives everywhere. The old regime, I asked him, and he nodded yes. He said, we'll talk another time. I asked him what the water meant to him, and he said, the liberation of the Iraqi people. But we'll talk another time. I'm in a rush. I have to go.
The reach of Saddam still holds territory on the ground and in the mind. But on one street, in the only town now held by the Allies, his regime appears to be slipping like water through the fingers.
You got water?
Americans like Randy Butel may just be witnessing the first free citizens of a new Iraq.
I got a little niece and nephew back home. They're real young.
It's good to be able to make a difference.
Yes, it is.
When these kids came running across the street,
yes.
What'd you think?
It's hard to explain. Feeling of joy. Now I know why I'm here.